What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another, buff video for COD Mobile. So today we're going to be focusing on the MAC-10. So this weapon was part of the Season 8 buffs. Hardly any weapon, I think, received a nerf other than just the USS-9. And the MAC-10, I know this one's going to be kind of overlooked, mainly because the MAC-10 hasn't really been relevant in quite a while, so I decided to take it upon myself to at least tell you guys how this weapon feels now that it's been buffed. And honestly, just flat out, I would say the weapon feels a lot better than before. If anything, probably beyond its prime. The MAC-10 was meta for a short time back when it first came out. This was like years ago. I think this was like when the AK-47 Mythic came out. And yeah, this weapon was actually meta for I don't even know how long. It wasn't really that long. It was one of the more short-lived metas. I think it was like a meta that lasted maybe about 1 to 2 months before they nerfed it, and then we kind of just moved on with our next meta. But basically, since then, it hasn't really been well consistent. The accuracy's been nerfed like significantly. The damage, especially with some of the multipliers, a lot of the multipliers are just like below 1.0, meaning that like if you shoot a certain portion of the body, it's going to do less damage. Yeah, this weapon was kind of mistreated for a while, honestly. And given that we've had a lot of different metas that were very toxic back in the day, I mean, something like this probably would have helped. It didn't really start to become decent until they actually buffed the bullet speed. The bullet speed was like, I think below or maybe just a little bit over 500 at its best. But, now it got improved to the point where it could go up to, I think, like 700 meters per second. Just basically on par with the AS Val. So what they changed this time around, they increased the range profile for I think the third range, which goes up to 24 meters now, and the stomach multiplier got increased from 0.9 to 1.0. And I almost forgot to mention that the first range was also increased by 1 meter. That may not sound like much, but once you put like a reinforced heavy or a task force barrel, you will definitely notice the change. So it's nice to like not be penalized for shooting in the stomach. I don't think most weapons really do that. I think the only one that I could think of is maybe the Outlaw, but even then, I don't think they ever really changed that multiplier. I think it's only for like the first range. But anyways, yeah, this is one weapon that kind of like you really had to be accurate to get the best out of it. And despite being accurate, it kind of felt very inconsistent. It does have 4-shot potential, but only up to the chest, and that's something that honestly is rarely possible. More often than not, you would be able to at least manage a 5-shot, maybe a 6-shot kill. But now that I've been using this for at least the start of the season, it has felt a lot more consistent, especially when it comes to 5-tapping and maybe even 4-tapping as well. Albeit the 4-tapping might be a little bit just maybe if I'm aiming a little bit better, like maybe that's why it feels good. But like the consistency overall when it comes to 5-tapping does feel amazing. Is it good enough to compete against weapons like the VMP? Most likely not. Obviously, the VMP could basically 4-tap from anywhere across the universe, but with this one, it does kind of help combat it, at least if you're very close range. But even when you start to get to medium ranges, you'll notice that like 5-tapping does feel at least a little bit better. Most of the time, again, you're going to be 6-shotting around that range, but it does, again, it's feeling a lot more consistent than it ever was before. It's funny because my friend Driver that I do play with occasionally, he actually mentioned how good the MAC-10 was. I'm not sure if he was grinding it during the time or maybe he was just using it for fun, but he kind of told me that the weapon was pretty solid. And I told him about the buff today and he started using it and he said, yeah, it does feel a lot better than before. And again, like I said, a change like this isn't really going to push it to the meta, but it pushes it enough where it could entice some players to be more interested in it. I'm not too sure whether or not they fully have data on how often it's used or how often kills are recorded with people using a certain weapon. So like for example, let's say they noticed I don't know if they have like this algorithm that kind of tells how many kills like at least overall that players have been getting with a certain weapon, and that's usually how they gauge things, and maybe that's how they patch things out. I know like in the mainline CODs they have something like that where they could kind of detect what weapons being used the most, and they'll basically balance things out based on what the algorithm tells them. If COD Mobile has that, because again, no one was really ever talking about the MAC-10. This is a change that kind of came out of nowhere. But there has to be a reason why they changed it. Maybe there's some data that they found that maybe people weren't really using it enough, and that's why they actually improved the weapon. But all theories aside, I mean, it's a welcoming change for the weapon. Hopefully, people could use it a little bit more. It does shred a bit. So if you guys are feeling up to it, you guys can. I mean, it's there for you guys to test out. In ranked, I even in the climate right now, I don't really think it's uh like recommended to do so. But I mean, hey, if you're feeling daring, you could try it on in ranked as well. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a like, make sure to subscribe for some more COD Mobile content. I'll see you guys next time.